Caddis Maximus here, this time with a review of the Sony CycleEnergy AA and AAA size quad bay or 4 battery capacity nickel metal hydride battery charger. Just continuing my review series on battery chargers that I like and think other people would be satisfied with. The one thing that's not satisfying about the Sony is it is slow when you're in using all 4 batteries, although I do like that it has a nice sleek cover over the top. It uses a lower charge current. It's 1 amp when using 2 batteries, 1 amp per battery, or 2 amps grand total. But that 2 amps grand total is truly a grand total. So when you put in 4 batteries, even though it is an independent cell charger, meaning that you can charge any combination 1, 3, 4, or 2 batteries, it will, when driving 4 of them, it will only give a half an amp. I'm not exactly sure how these chargers behave when you have 3 batteries. I don't know if it does half an amp to one each of 2 of them and 1 amp to another one, or if it's like 0.7 to all 3. I'm sure that's what it is. It's just a amount of current that it's limited to. I generally leave the cover open because the batteries get a little warm, and even though this is really sleek, and because it's like a 3 or 4, actually it would be, when doing 4 batteries of modern nickel metal hydride, it would be over a 4-hour charge. But I've always had good luck with these, and really with the slower chargers you get less heat buildup, not as much heat concentration. It's able to dissipate it more easily, and you have this generally lower fire risk. All rechargeable batteries under the worst conditions can actually catch fire. This one is nice because it does have a green backlit screen. It's real light, has a charge, and I didn't show under the cover, but it has a refresh mode. These modes I generally recommend not using because they discharge and recharge the battery to try to bring its capacity up, but at the same time you're doing that, you're also burning up usable lifetime. You're burning up charge cycles. The best way to recondition a battery, a rechargeable battery, is through operation. Just use it up. Use it on a high-power flashlight or something like that. Otherwise, just let them sit, but don't let them sit and bake in the charger. I wouldn't worry so much about these Sonys. So a lot of things with these AA battery chargers and AAA is some either use power bricks, which are a bit of an inconvenience, although most of them are 12 volts, but that's not entirely the case, and I'll get into some chargers like that. Other ones actually have a plug that's actually integrated. Let's just make this simpler. This battery charger just uses one of these weird figure-8 cords that's sometimes used on stereo equipment and certain types of power bricks, things like that. Otherwise, you're stuck either with a big power brick, and so if you're actually using one of these chargers, and one thing I would like to stress is a lot of issues is if you need more than 4 batteries, you can always get more chargers. I actually really did like these Sonys because they use a figure-8 cord, so I can plug 3 chargers next to each other in a power strip. Unlike something like this where you need basically a whole receptacle. You put one in the bottom socket and then you can flip it around, and I think that's why they set this off. But these figure-8 cords make it very convenient to plug in multiple chargers. So if you have a high drain device, the easiest way to deal with it is to get a bunch of batteries and be able to charge up as many as you need. It is pretty convenient. Even though this is a 4-hour charger, with 3 chargers, I can charge 12 batteries in 4 hours, and that's really not so bad. The other thing is the power supply is integrated into these, so they're worldwide universal. So if you actually are traveling, that's what's kind of nice about these is 100 volts to 240 volts, 50, 60 hertz. Then there's where it lists, 500 milliamps out 4 batteries or 1,000 milliamps out 2. The model number is BCG34HRMD, and actually there's a revised one. This is the latest one that I picked up, and this is the same part number but HRMF, so incremented a little bit. Anyway, that was kind of a babbling review, but I just wanted to point out that, for a Sony product, these battery chargers really aren't so bad at all. They do have a nice little LCD screen that doesn't like to show up very well under the lights, but as soon as you turn off the lights, it's much easier to see. It's actually designed the way they oriented the polarization. It's very hard to see from any bottom angle, which is the least likely where you're going to be looking at it. You're going to be looking at it from the side or anywhere from the top. So they were intelligent about that, and I did appreciate that. And these little, you know, the LCD screens make it very easy to see the status of the charge. And I was glad that Sony actually has a pretty decent charger out there. The only caveat is those little figure-8 power cords, which are pretty easy to pick up used, and they're sold at most stores. Pretty much seem to be the most convenient one. One thing I would mention is don't ever stack battery chargers on top of each other. I had somebody, I was at a friend's house and they did that, and I was like, no, that's a big no-no. Anyway, that was the latest edition of my battery charger video review series, and just reviewing a lot of the chargers I like, that I've picked up, that I personally use, and they're all going to be independent cell chargers. And then that way people can kind of pick and choose, you know, whichever one catches their fancy, whether it's how it looks or if they're looking for the most screaming performance. In a future video, we'll talk about that performance. They really do. They make chargers. This is kind of a cheesier one, but this is a 30-minute charger. This is fan-cooled. It's actually downright dangerous, especially compared to something like this Sony product where they trade off, you know, not as quick at charging, just to have a much safer unit. And these have always worked reliably, and I actually, just the way they're shaped and the way the figure-8 cord, they're pretty much, most times, the ones that I just use by default. That's why I have 3 of them. Anyway, I really appreciate everybody watching and subscribing. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And until next time, Catus Maximus out.